Good afternoon. My name is Stephen Cowley, and I'm a recent graduate of UNH with a bachelor's in history. UNH has afforded me several opportunities to learn GIS through cooperative extension classes, as well as to explore its uses for historians through undergraduate research projects. In this talk, I will give a brief overview of 4 ways in which I think GIS has been useful in my research, including the tools of georeferencing, geodatabases, and story maps. Over the past 2.5 years, I've georeferenced dozens of historical maps that go back to the 17th century. Most recently, I spent the summer examining the early 19th century geologist Edward Hitchcock's geological survey maps of Massachusetts and the Connecticut River Valley as an extension of my honors thesis. However, I first encountered georeferencing in a summer undergraduate research fellowship in 2013 when I mapped the unsuccessful pursuit of 2 English Civil War generals who had fled to New England in 1660 and were responsible for the execution of Charles I. The largest maps I georeferenced cover all of New England, while some maps were the floor plans of houses, but I was able to simultaneously drape them over the real geography. After layering these simple woodcut maps over more detailed historical and modern maps, I was able to make them more geographically accurate. Maps once scattered throughout countless books and libraries are now firmly pinned onto the face of the earth. Many were scanned for the first time from the original books. Once I had the maps georeferenced, I could use them to reconstruct much of the 17th century New Haven, Connecticut area. While an archaeologist might reconstruct a location based on physical evidence, I relied on interpreting documents containing textual descriptions. By cross-referencing these maps with spreadsheets of information from other sources, I realized that many references were to the same locations using different names. This allowed me to consolidate the names given by different sources so that the database linked these references all to the same spreadsheet entry. Eventually, I was able to reconstruct much of the landscape of New Haven Colony in a 3-dimensional model. Separate layers were made for natural and man-made features such as streets, buildings, and streams that no longer exist. Each linked to the database that categorized attributes for each feature. I believe the greatest potential for GIS in the field of history lies in fully utilizing the geodatabase. Following my reconstruction of the 17th century New Haven with the help of my database, I realized that in addition to analyzing old maps, I could add spatial coordinates to attribute tables that describe historical locations, persons, and events. I gave the people involved in these events attributes such as political affiliation, when and where they lived, and their occupation. I then made relationships among the spreadsheets. This also the new ability of time-aware maps to represent date entries in the geodatabase means that maps can systematically represent changes of geography and the locations of individuals over time. By organizing information in a geographical format, by adding spatial coordinates to existing data, in this case historical information from both primary and secondary sources, the story of the 2 English fugitives who had sentenced Charles I to death in early America is now visible in the context of all 50 maps that I have georeferenced and all the information in the database. The array of conflicting and incomplete narratives about these events are no longer quite so overwhelming, as their versions of events can be compared side by side on the map, while many of the details still reside in the database, but without much of the confusion and ambiguities caused by each writer's storytelling and personal bias. I realized the capability of GIS to connect people with their local history in the GIS project I completed over this past summer on the early 19th century geologist Edward Hitchcock and his New England landscape. For this task, the story maps program that many of you are familiar with was indispensable. I was able to combine my textual descriptions of how Hitchcock's geological maps were created and how I georeferenced them with beautiful illustrations, as well as interactive versions of Hitchcock's maps where users can explore the natural features and fossil tracks sites that Hitchcock studied. Thanks to the simple software and cooperative extension class that helped me learn it, my project reached people on social media and attracted the attention of experts on Hitchcock at Amherst College's museum, where Hitchcock amassed the world's largest collection of dinosaur tracks. Meanwhile, GIS can illustrate the geodatabase for the public in interactive web maps that feel much more engaging than a book, especially for younger generation generations that may feel more comfortable relating to the past in a digital medium. I'll still need to learn more before I can fully realize my vision of having online geodatabases where people not familiar with GIS can access the capabilities that I have described in this talk. But given how much I've learned over just a few short years, I feel confident this will be possible someday soon.